order. Mr. Secretary, do we have a quorum? All right, very good. Well, I hope to get y'all out of here rather quickly today. I know there's a lot of things going on today. We have a couple bills on here. We'll just go ahead and run through these. The first one is the Irish Trade Commission. It's been out there every year. It seems to die on the other side. Last year, there were some questions about whether they supported this or that. All that's been kind of reconciled. Senator Harkins is part of that, and several of our other members there. Do we have any questions about it? It's the same bill we've run over and over and over. So any questions from the committee on that one? Do I have a motion?
That was sufficiently passed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. All right, that will be reported out. So thank y'all so much. The next ones are going to be some of Senator Boyd's. Senator Boyd, do you want to start with 2259 and be recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are calling this the People's Access Act, but y'all will remember that we have seen this bill on the Senate side quite a number of times, and we've passed it through the Senate now, I believe 2 or 3 times. But what this requires public bodies to do is to make sure that their meetings are live streamed. And this came up particularly during COVID as we were having meetings. And some of the agencies and most of our agencies now live stream a lot of their meetings anyway, but we still have a few that don't. And so this makes sure that if you live in Oxford, like I do, like my constituents, or you're down in Hattiesburg, that if you want to see what that commission's doing, you'll be able to look at it live, online, and live stream. So that's what the bill basically does. Open to, and then also to, it would require then a place where all of these are listed. I think it's with the Secretary of State's office. But that's what the bill is, and happy to take any questions on that.
We can start with questions, and I think there's got to be some amendments. I think Senator Blunt's going to bring some things to the floor. So Senator Johnson?
Yeah, just glancing through this, I want to make sure I understand state agencies and boards and commissions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think I saw where excluded were specifically executive sessions or others deemed to be closed. When there is say sub-boards as part of it or subcommittees as part of its board, will they live stream those meetings as well if they are not executive?
We did not contemplate that for those subcommittee meetings. That's not contemplated. So this would just be instead of like the if your city has an architectural board or something like that, that's not contemplated in this. This is really contemplated for really looking at those general board sessions. So, and a lot of cities are going ahead and doing those.
And this would include state agencies. So one thing that we came across a couple of years ago with some PERS legislation was that the PERS board meetings were relatively short because they did a lot of the work prior to in subcommittees. Would those subcommittees be included, or would that also be exempted from this?
We had not contemplated those subcommittees with that, because a lot of times they're working kind of meticulous, and the general information is presented in those big board sessions.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, Senator Blunt, do you have any questions?
Yes. Here.
Sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I do have some questions. I think we all want these public meetings to be accessible, and I think the Senate has led on that, and we hope that we can get committee meetings streamed for the entire legislature soon. And I think for state agencies that have the wherewithal to do this, I think it's very much needed. I do have a couple of concerns which I'd like to raise. The first, I think it's pretty straightforward. A couple of years ago, done a bill which requires state agencies to post notice of their meetings on a single page, which is at DFA. I think that might be the best place to put it. We're already putting DFA is doing that now. You get a 1 page for the state of Mississippi and see every single state agency and when their meeting is going to be. So I think I'm going to offer that amendment if the chairman is amenable, I would like to do that. My concern primarily is with small towns. We represent small towns. I represent 2, and we have small towns. And you know, I'm concerned about putting something on them that they may not have the resources to handle. I don't know if we want to discuss possibly a population threshold or delaying the effective date for municipalities, for our small municipalities. I think everything you're doing with state agencies is needed and I support. I'm just concerned for some of our smaller towns that this may be more than they can take on to have someone who's got a camera and sets up a YouTube channel and all the rest of it. So I just want to bring that up for the committee to think about and discuss. And I would like to offer them to require that notices of the online streaming link be placed at the Department of Finance and Administration other than the Secretary of State.
All right, so the first amendment being offered is to place the links at DFA. Correct, Senator?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got that. So is any discussion about that amendment before we move into the next part? The chair has no concerns about that. I think the author has no concerns about that. So you've heard the motion. Do we have a second on that motion? Got a second from second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so it will be amended to move that to DFA. Now, I think Senator Blunt wants to open this to some discussion on maybe thresholds in small towns is what I'm understanding, and he and I have discussed that a little bit. I have the same concerns he does about some of the small towns. So I think maybe if we look at some things as far as population numbers, maybe delaying smaller populations for a couple of years. I do know that looking at this bill, it goes into effect July 1st. I do think we've got to first off maybe move the effective date first off maybe to January 1st of 27 to give 6 months or so for those boards and commissions to get set up on that. And then I would entertain some additional discussion on what we want to do as far as our thresholds for municipalities. So any ideas from the committee? I want y'all to work. I'm not here to force anything down your throat. I want this committee, you're all very intelligent, and I want you to work and tell me what you're thinking before we go to the floor with it. Senator Blunt, do you have a suggestion?
I'm certainly open to suggestions, but I guess I would, what the number that pops in my mind is 5,000 people. But I'm open to whatever the wisdom of the committee.
We have a lot of different thresholds that are population oriented. Obviously those can fluctuate, which we saw with Hinds County bill a couple of years ago and the population that we were needing to update. What if we put a financial threshold? Because the real burden is a financial burden more than a number of people burden. What if we put a financial threshold of what a city has to have in total revenues to do that?
Senator Williams?
Just as we talk about this, transparency is, I can't think the root of this. And there again, if you put a threshold and you fall below it, I've got a conversation that can happen. Just a quick search, $0 to $500 seems to get a town in business. And do we have towns that can't afford that? Is it the level of quality that we're experiencing here? No, it's not. But I think it meets the criteria of the bill. I'm kind of on the side of, let's give them some time to interact to get it there, but let's try to encompass everybody. As again, I think it feeds to what we're trying to do. There are low cost options, and maybe if we need to, we could come up with ABC. Here's your camera, microphone. Here's how you set up a YouTube channel, if you will, to do that. Would that be, if the $500 is a minimum number, is that something that the municipality cannot afford, I guess would be the question.
And to answer that, I think that there's some discussion that we do have municipal corporations. Let me clarify that, because we do have, we have villages and towns and cities. And so, but a municipal corporation, you do have some, as Senator Blunt's probably going to bring up, that have even 50 people that develop that. So personally, my idea would maybe be we do start with the threshold of a population for the first, and then put maybe 2 years in there for everybody to comply. But Senator Blunt?
I think that sounds like a good idea. Look, we got all these people up here. We can't get the microphones to work in the chamber every day. And so, but you got older people, you got small town. I like that idea, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sparks, you'd like to speak?
Yeah, I don't mind delaying. I think maybe I'm missing the point. You're operating as a unit of government. I got the village of Paden in my district. If you're going to operate as a unit of government and you're going to seek tax dollars from the citizenry locally, you're going to want grants, you want ARPA, you want a project bill, you want these things. It is so important that those meetings are viewed by constituents, but also the people sending the money. And so I don't see the financial hardship. And we talk about people's age and sophistication. I'm not great with technology, but ever since FaceTime came out, everybody over the age of 65 FaceTimes their grandkids just about. I mean, and it don't have to be high def quality. And I don't believe we're asking them to record it and archive it, which is what I'd prefer. But if equipment fails, somebody has an issue, but I think there's got to be a standard. It's almost embarrassing that meetings are not held that are public meetings that require people to have to drive to the city hall, to, whoever it may be that's an open meeting. And I guess it's the purse thing burning on me that for, 30 years, we got the largest liability in the state. And you had to drive to Jackson, Mississippi to see what in the world was going on. And that was simple. And it's been very effective and good. So I don't mind a delay if there's concern. Of course, obviously talking with the municipal league people and everything to see if there's, something they're hearing from those smaller groups. But I think we're really past time of apologizing for transparency. So I think we need to do it.
Senator Hickman?
I just want to say I echo that. I think this is a good bill, but I also serve a lot of small municipalities. And I think some of it is not necessarily the cost of technology, but I think we've discussed it as it's the ability to run it. In some small towns are running on literally one full-time employee. That's all they have. And I have boards where everybody on the board, including the mayor on up, are 70 and above. So there are just some difficulties, and I'm not saying don't put it on them, but I think a delay would be very efficient just to make sure that I can go. And if I need to help them do whatever they need to do to get that. And it's also, having equipment, whose phone are we going to use or what are we going to use? I think all these things go into account. And so not necessarily making an excuse or apologizing for transparency. I just think that we need to make sure that we're taking care of these smaller towns and villages and stuff to make sure they're able to come up to whatever standard we place on them.
Senator Williams?
If it'd be agreeable, I'd like to offer amendment, maybe a little discussion before it. We basically have cities, towns, and villages, correct? Because I've got all in my district. I'm sorry?
Hamlets.
We have hamlets?
That not villages? Villages. I believe Hamlet's the smallest. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I tendered to the committee is we'll put a implementation date for cities of January of 27, towns July of 27, and all other municipality bodies January of 28. That kind of gives everybody a little bit of time to do that. And we hopefully can work with I've got 14 that I serve all of the above, so we can work with them. Some of them, no problem, they're doing it. Some, oh my goodness, we have telephones, so we can do that.
So we have an amendment on the table. A motion is to implement January 1st of 27 for cities, July 1st of 27 for towns, January 28th for all others. I'd like to take a little more discussion from Senator Sparks. I think he's got some questions on it.
Just want to make sure I understand the breakdown. I think 2,000 is the breaking point between a town and a city, just for the committee if that was not aware. So you'd be putting in law anybody over 2,000 would have that first category. Do you know what a village is, just for the sake of having that other threshold? I don't know it off the top of my head, but I think it may be around 500.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was my exact question. I wanted to know the birthday.
All right, so I do have one more question for you, Senator Williams. Since you're offering the amendment, I'm gonna let you respond to this. In our bill, I think you're gonna catch what I'm talking about. As Senator Blunt mentioned, that we already have trouble with technology in our chamber. If you look at line 53, public notice of the agenda to be discussed or fails to comply with the live streaming. So my question was, do we need to put a reasonable term in there of like substantively, comply, so that if something happens and for some reason that I can't even get phone service at my office right now because the online internet stuff is so great at the moment. And I would hate for us to say that action taken in one meeting because they did not officially stream was going to fully void that. Does anybody else have any concerns of maybe that? I mean, because technology is feeble at best some days.
That is a very valid concern. There needs to be an exception that doesn't have a penalty with it. I mean, I think that in the minutes of the meeting, it should be recorded that there was an attempt to made and it could not happen because of this.
I think Senator Sparks has a mention on that.
Again, trying to protect folks with the advent of the iPhone, I'd record it. I don't think there's an excuse if the internet goes down, if I am streaming and recording it, then if the stream doesn't go up, I can easily say, look, we had failure to stream, here's the recording. That may be an option.
And that maybe you're saying live stream broadcasting here. So are you considering maybe an exception to allow recording to be uploaded after the meeting? Because we're all actually moving in some different territory here because, our boards speak through our minutes. And now we're saying that you have to have the minutes and you have to have a recording for it to become effective. So I just don't want to do anything that's going to really harm our towns. We want them to do this as best we can. So any other discussion on that, I think, or any ideas how we want to do it, Senator Williams?
Back to your original thoughts, I think of allowing, if some reason it can't be implemented, we need to understand why. And if we've gone through 3 years of meetings with none of that, we obviously have a situation there. Again, the minutes should speak to that, but I think there will be instances and there's a realistic scenario where you're going to go where you've got the 73-year-old board members and Sam's the one that's got an iPhone. He didn't show up this time. I mean, and you just don't have the technology there. Should that be a regular occurrence? No, but will that happen? Most likely. I mean, and at least as an ease into it. Am I wrong?
Senator Boyd?
I think you can put a due diligence clause in that but I do think Senator Sparks is right. Very few times are you not able to record it. Due diligence should be made for live streaming. And if live streaming cannot take place, then it should be uploaded at its earliest opportunity.
So, well, let's do this. Let's deal with the amendment on the table of the population densities that we have out there. So you've heard the amendment. Do I have a second on the amendment? Second, Senator Blunt, Senator Hickman. All in favor of the amendment, which puts the thresholds out there for cities, towns, and other municipal corporations, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we've got our thresholds in there. Now let's discuss our supplement. Any ideas, an amendment, anybody? Senator Boyd, you mentioned basically an amendment. Do you have a way to articulate that for maybe our attorney to do the substantive part?
Allison, did you get that? Good sense will come. Okay.
So basically the amendment is to provide some type of exception in case of technological problems, but not to allow them to claim technological problems every time. So we're going to put that in there, make it a substantive amendment today. We're not going to have an individual wording to go with it. And we'll see that on the floor and discuss it further. So you have a motion from Senator Boyd on that on the amendment. Do I have a second? Second. All right, I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now, we have Senator Hickman.
I do have a question about the general bill. And I guess this would go to the author. I do know that I think last year, maybe a year before, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the court ruled that we were not subject to the Open Meetings Act. Does this in some way bring us under this so the legislature could still do what it wants once we pass this?
The legislature could still do what it wants. The legislature is specifically exempt in here. Yeah, and the judiciary as well. The legislature, we function, on the Senate side with open meetings, so, and that probably extend a little beyond what's being required here.
Oh,
So-
I get our side, I get what's going on, but we're talking a lot about a lot of transparency and things around here, but we are left to our own vices.
So, yeah, this does not address the legislature or judiciary. So, and there's a couple other entities that are not subject to open meetings and, those things as well. So like hospital boards and things like that, that wouldn't be subject. So.
I'd like to say that the Senate does operate transparently, as you will see that this is being streamed right now. If you want to watch this at any time, you can see it. Whether this is in there or not, we know that it's not in the bill for the legislature. There have been bills sent back and forth, mostly over and never many come back that open, and put the legislature under the open meetings law. We think that's what should be happening, and you will continue to see that discussed in government structure as long as I'm your chairman. So, anything other on this bill? Title sufficient do pass as amended. All right, you have a motion on the table. Have a second?
Second.
All right, I got a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you for your work on this, and thank you for working through this bill. Senator Boyd's not over. So Senator Boyd, you've got your next one, your task force bill 2260.
I would love to take credit for this, but as I've often said, our best bills and our best ideas for bills don't come from us. They come from the constituency out there, and this is one of those bills. We were doing women, children's and family hearings, I guess a couple of years ago. There was a repeated theme, when we heard from it, and Commissioner Sanders, made the statement that we needed to play Go Fish among some of our social service agencies, those for the Department of Health, those for mental health, and CPS, because there's a lot of inefficiencies. You may have to go to the Department of Health and we'll have another bill in just a second to get, part of your childcare licensure. You also have DHS that is doing childcare. You have the Department of Mental Health, who they certify aspects of mental health facilities, but as does the Department of Health. It is completely inefficient, especially too, if you're wanting to open an agency in the state, if you want to open a childcare, if you want to get a certain mental health facility certified. And so Commissioner Sanders said they needed to play Go Fish. And we thought it was a great idea. We actually passed this bill last year. It is the same bill that came before the Senate last year, that we sent over to the other side that did not come back to us. So this is a bill where it would take those agencies, it would take the Division of Medicaid, Human Services, Department of Child Protective Services, the Department of Health, and the Executive Director of Mental Health. And they would make recommendations to us by October 1 of this year, where that we could go back and work on those provisions in code and develop a process of lining this up so we're a lot more efficient with this. So that's an explanation of the bill. Happy to answer questions.
Any questions on the bill? Senator Sparks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not for an amendment at this time, but just consider maybe before we come to the floor, whether the Department of Rehab Services should also be in the mix. They are, as we've been working through this one door policy stuff, when you see DHS, Medicaid, you usually see rehab services, so they may want them on your task force.
Senator Boyd.
That would definitely be a friendly amendment. We didn't include them because this was kind of the original bill that had been testifying before Women, Children's and Families, but that actually would be a friendly amendment that they probably should participate in this process.
And I'd rather see your amendment right now than on the floor.
Appropriate time, I would offer the amendment.
All right, we've got an amendment down there for Senator Sparks. Senator Sparks?
The
One
minute,
member, how many members are you adding?
well, just be, I think there's one member from each of these agencies that the Department of Rehab Services would be also a member or its designee. And I would yield any questions on the.
Any questions or concerns about that from the committee? All right, we've got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All right, any opposed? None. So now I think I've got a question up here from Senator Hickman.
Yeah, got a question, and possible amendment. Looks like they have 45 days to have their first meeting, and some things go on there, but this won't go in effect until I think, July.
Passage.
After passage. So, I still think maybe we give them a little more time. Are you opposed to making this, December 1? And then I think that if they give us that report, anything we need to do from there, we still have time before the start of session. So I'd like to amend line 70, to say December 1, 2026.
All right, any questions on that amendment? All right, and the authors mentioned it's a friendly amendment, so do I have a second? Second by Senator Williams. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so now we have a well thought through bill that's been moved a few times. Do we have a motion?
Out of sufficient, as amended.
As amended or committee sub, however we want to do it on the semantics there, but we've got a motion out there, so I'm gonna call a motion and a second from Senator Johnson as he was part of that. So all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That'll be reported out. Thank you for your work on that. One last one, and this is one I'm gonna let Senator Boyd take up here, and then I'll let y'all go. I've lied to you. You were beyond 25 minutes.
Okay, this bill actually does some of that already. But what it does is, childcare licensing right now is at the Department of Health. You also have Department of Human Services, who does a great deal in childcare. They have, childcare grants. It's really the agency that deals with childcare, period. This was brought to us. I want to make very clear, there was some rumors around the Capitol. There's lots to do this. The Department of Health is doing a terrific job at licensing facilities, but talking to Dr. Edney, talking to Bob Anderson, they both believe that this should be housed all at one agency. And DHS is willing to take this on. So this is one of those that will go ahead and directly move. They would have a full year of planning. They would start on this. It would not take effect. The actual move would not take into effect until July of 27. This also gives them time to go ahead and start meeting so that if there's any additional language that needs to happen in next session, they'll be able to come back to us and make any proposals or anything like that that needs to be done. But this, again, is for efficiency purposes, because you'll have childcare providers. They have to go to the Department of Health for one thing. Then they're working with DHS on something completely different. This is for efficiency purposes to get those all at one place. So that's an explanation of the bill, and I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, so Waitman's got his hand up over here. We'll start with him.
Really quick, I actually don't have a question. I just want to say I totally agree with everything you've said, but I want to go on record to say that if there's an agency that we can remove stuff from, not because they're doing a bad job, but because we have placed so much on them, it's the Department of Health. And so I think it's a good move.
All right, Senator Williams.
I think you all but said it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam, but these dates are good with both departments, right? They're
Right.
good with these timelines.
Yes. So this, and if there's an issue, this gives us time to address it next year. So.
Yes, thank you.
And you'll note it says October 1st for a report of any legislative actions. We can do that in the beginning of 27 when we come back in. Senator Sparks, you look perplexed.
I just wanted to make sure that in reading through, this doesn't change any of the rules of the licensure. It just changes who's going to oversee it. But on section 15, the Department of Human Services, carrying out the duties, what you were just talking about October 1st, but enforcing childcare facility licensing laws. When we say enforce, is that basically granting, rescinding if there's violations? In other words, does that move to DHS?
It would all move to DHS, and that's what, and we know there's going to have to be a lot of planning in that process. So, and we think we probably maybe left out some statutes that we need to do. So this is why it gives them time to give us a report and let us know what we need to do.
Okay, because I've not been through one of those processes, but I'm assuming since it involves licensure, it would have an appellate process. Maybe next year we also consider what to do with cases that are at the prior agency that are in the middle of the process, and then when they pick up the new cases.
This, and Senator Sparks, this is kind of a test case for us almost with the prior bill that you just passed. This is why we've laid out a very long time frame, just because we believe that we need to probably do some things that we haven't thought of through that process in laying this out. And this would give us time to address those things next session.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Senator Williams?
If there's a added expense, I guess that is there an additional expense in this happening and just moving from one department to the next? I assume if there is, we'll kind of get with a fiscal note and give it appropriations.
That would be that's why I'm laying it out so far in advance so that we can make the appropriate appropriations next year.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You know, if there's anything we can do to help encourage more childcare facilities as well. I know that's a need across the state. We need to do what we can to do it. So you've heard the bill, Senator Boyd. Did you have any amendments you want to drop out there? All right, so there are no amendments on this bill. I have a motion from Senator Boyd, second from Senator Williams. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that will report out. Thank you all for meeting. We will meet again one more time, probably first of next week for some additional stuff. Do I have a final motion? Rise and report. All in favor say aye. Aye.